It's all right. We can deal with that.
Good evening. It's Monday, December 1st. It's 6:29, and we're in the City Council chambers. We're at the Safety and Public Works Committee, and we have a full crew here. We have 3 items on the agenda. I added item number 4, and that would be Mr. Wolf's thing that he had in the paper. And then if you have anything, Jeff?
No, I don't have any additional items.
Okay.
Neither do I.
Neither do you? Yeah, I forgot to ask you. So with that, being we have guests here for item number 3, we'll start with item number 3, tree and alley at 1223 Mill Avenue. If Jeff wants to lead us off, and then we'll...
Sure. I haven't spoken with the property owner. They've been speaking with Jesse in our office. But Jesse did put together a memo sort of explaining the situation. There are a couple of trees in what is a platted alley between 7th Avenue and Mill Avenue. This is the block located just south of M Street. The property owner has some concerns about the trees with respect to them being a potential hazard to a garage structure. They did make a request at one time, apparently, to ask BPU if BPU would trim them. BPU looked at them and determined that there was not a problem with the trees with respect to any power lines, so they declined to do anything with the trees. Then Jesse, along with Katie Kaufman from the Park Department, who's our forester, took a look at the trees and determined that they don't constitute a hazard. So so from that aspect, it's not a situation where she could tag the trees and require their removal. There seems to be I think that the underlying question here is the ownership of the property. The trees are located in what would be a platted alley, and when an alley is platted, the city does not have fee ownership of the alley. We have essentially an easement that allows us to use that alley for public utilities or for alley-type purposes. So we do have a sanitary sewer that's located there. That's allowed in the platted alley. And the city also has an ability to construct and maintain an alley within that platted corridor. But like the rest of our right-of-way, it's there by easement. We don't, without having fee ownership, we can't, for instance, sell the property. We don't have any other, we don't have any ownership interest in trees that are located in the alley. Trees essentially are owned by the adjacent property owners, not the city. Certainly if the city elected or found a need to grade in an alley, then by all means we would be able to go in there and, as part of that public purpose, to remove trees in order to grade in the alley. Just like we sometimes do remove trees with some of our street projects. But I think really in this case there's a question whether or not we can, without the trees being diseased or being a definite hazard that we can observe, I don't know that we necessarily have the right to just go in there and remove trees. That's the request being sent to the council tonight is basically a request to have the city remove the trees. And from staff's perspective, we feel that they do not constitute a hazard. And I think we've got this underlying question whether or not we can even legally do that. But the property owners can absolutely remove the trees if they so elect to, just like they would be able to any boulevard tree.
You need to come up to the mic and state your name and address, and then go ahead and...
But first of all, who else does have fee ownership?
Nobody. Well, okay, technically the underlying fee ownership is the adjacent property owners up to the center line.
Well, what do you mean technically?
Okay, if
do they pay taxes on it?
Do they pay taxes on it?
That
No.
piece of, no.
No, but through the platting process, if we vacated it, said we're not going to have an alley here, we're not going to use it for utility or alley purposes, then if we vacate it, the east half of the vacated alley would be attached to this property. The west half of the vacated alley would be attached to the property to the west. So that would become part of their legal description, and then they would be paying taxes on it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, first of all, we're not asking.
Can you go, just state your name and address?
Well, I'm Shannon Huber, and I'm speaking on behalf of Joan Morgan. She's the property owner. And she's not asking for removal of the trees, she's asking for someone to maintain the trees. The trees they're over the roof. She has a $2,500 deductible on her insurance. She's a senior citizen. And when she first purchased the land, she asked if the previous owner, if they could use the alleyway and have easement to that alley, and they were declined that. So she can't use the alley. She can't put a fence there for her dog. So she has to keep her fence over on her property. It can't go in the alley because there's a sewer pipe running through the alley. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of contradicting themselves because nobody can use this property, but yet they want the homeowners to pay for any maintenance on the trees. But it's not their property. It's the city's property. They have the sewer pipe going through it. It's their property. Nobody can do anything with it. So I don't see why they wouldn't maintain it. Right?
Yeah, they said they couldn't vacate it.
You'll have to come up to the mic, because we got, I know, we have an outside audience that's going to be watching.
Oh, okay. When I first was interested in the property, Mike Cleaver owned the property, and I have a postage-sized backyard, so I also have a dog. So he had checked into it at that time to see if the alley could be vacated, and they said no because the sewer pipe is going through it. So, I don't quite understand. I was telling Jeff, I think, the assistant city engineer, I said I don't quite understand their reasoning, because if they have to go in there to maintain the sewer pipe, then it belongs to the city. If it's to maintain the trees, they want, the homeowner to do it. And so, anyway.
You're Joan Morgan?
Yes.
Okay, and you live at 1223 Mill Avenue. Just
Right.
for the records, I see you on here. Okay.
Right, so that's kind of where it sits. And then there was a storm when I first moved in there, and there was branches all over. Well, I have a new roof on the house. I have a new roof on the garage. I also, like she said, have a $2,500 deductible on my insurance to keep it affordable. So instead of playing, ostrich and shoving my head in the sand, I called the city, and they said, well, if the trees are in the boulevard, they're the homeowner's responsibility. If they're in the alley, they're the city's responsibility. Well, then I didn't hear anything back, so I called again. And then I'm not quite sure if it was the city engineer who it was that told me that they had an ordinance now that if they didn't maintain the alley, that they wouldn't do anything with the trees. I don't know. There's a rotten one there. The trees are probably all right, but there were branches, that were coming down during that storm. I don't want my roof ruined. And I called the insurance agent that I have, and I told Craig Holmes, I said, I've made the city aware of this, because it's an older house. It was started in 1914, so, the furnace could go, so I just don't want any more problems. If it can be pruned up and trimmed and the branches taken away from the roof, great. I would appreciate it if they could do that. But I don't see why I'm even here, because if I'm responsible for the trees in the boulevard, which is my front yard. There's not much left since they put the bypass lane in. It's either one way or the other. So, but if you can't vacate it, so this is kind of how I look at it.
My issue would be precedence, and I have to ask Jeff what we have done in the past up until this point, because what I don't want is one individual in the city to have some special things done and everybody else that was out there that did not get it done, just a fairness. So go ahead, Jeff.
This is a little bit of a unique situation. We have a few cases around the city where we have platted alleys that are not improved. They do exist, but they're rare. But just in terms of responding to requests to trim trees or prune branches that are located in any right-of-way, whether it's a platted alley or a platted street, we have not dealt with that. The only pruning that we do is clearing brush or branches that are overhanging streets or overhanging an improved alley. We do have an ordinance that requires those branches to be pruned, or anything extending over the curb line at an elevation, I think it's less than 14 feet. We remove, and that's so that we've got adequate clearance for vehicles on the street. But that's the limit of what our street department, anyway, maintains.
Anybody else from the committee?
Yeah, I have a question too. Jeff, how many of this kind of alley do we have that have utilities in them?
The majority of areas where we have platted alleys, they do have utilities in them.
Okay, so I think Ms. Morgan makes a good point.
Yep.
If they were to request vacation, it wouldn't happen because of the city's involvement in it, because the city has a utility
In there.
So they couldn't ask for vacation. Right. So they're sort of between a rock and a hard place on this. Now, I went over and looked at it today, and I don't know if you can drive in it or not. It's very strange. You can go in from that one street, but then you'd be stopping in the middle of the block, and you couldn't get through any further. I saw the trees, and I wondered about the utility exactly, where it was. But they are in kind of a no man's land, it would seem to me. If they came back here with a request for vacation, I believe you would vote against it. And, you would ask us to vote against it because...
That would be our recommendation.
Right, and so to me, it's kind of like if the tree was growing in the street, we would take care of it. And
Not in the boulevard.
not in the boulevard, but the alley is not the boulevard. As she pointed out, there's boulevard in front of there. Not much anymore, but some. But this is different. This is alley. And the city has a claim on it because of utility. And therefore, frankly, I think the city should be. I looked at
Try
it,
wrapping
I don't
this
know
up
if you
in
did
4
or
more
not.
minutes because of the other
I
thing.
just am curious about the prudency of having trees growing over our septics or sewer system anywhere. As I understand it, that's one of the bigger problems we have with our sewer systems. The tree roots go down and they get in the seams and cause trouble. Why would we want to have trees growing over any of our sewers?
Now, Trent from Public Utilities said that they could use their equipment, I guess, from what he came out at one point.
Who was that?
Trent,
From
his name
BPU,
is Trent
yeah.
from Brainerd Public Utilities.
Okay.
He came out and because I think he used the word vague, that, it was vague because they're saying
Right.
there's a sewer pipe there, but yet they can't take care of it. And he did mention that, their equipment, I imagine a tree truck, that's what I assumed, that he meant that they could use that.
Well,
Take
I
'em
would
down.
support either removing or trimming the tree and ask, I guess, we don't do it, you don't do it, Jeff, through your department. It's just-
We don't have the equipment
No,
to,
so it would be BPU. But I think Chip makes a very valid point on,
Well, you're just saying trimming. You're
I
saying
said trim
removal.
or removal. I mean, whatever.
And they don't want it removed.
Well, it could be, but I mean, if nothing else, we'll take pruning, but I think it's just, tree roots are gonna go in the sewer. Eventually, they go for water, don't they, if it's dry, from
It
my
depends on the
understanding,
sewer,
so.
and I
you know,
understand it. This
It would
isn't
give
a-
me more light. It's not real picturesque back there, so any improvement is nice.
It's not, it's really kind of ugly.
It is.
Sorry.
Done much improvement
I want
since
to
it's
get
been
along
there.
with my neighbors, and I
We
bought it the
don't
way it was, and they're
have
nice neighbors,
jurisdiction
so.
here to tell BPU to do anything. They have their own department.
Well, we can ask.
All we can do is submit a letter and ask and bring this back to the next meeting because BPU is BPU. They have their own board, and their board, that's totally separate. All we can approve for the BPU is their budget, in dollars, but we can't ask them to do anything.
Oh,
I mean, we can
yeah.
ask, but we can't tell them,
Right, but they're very good usually.
you know, and they
that's
have,
good.
they have their reasoning. So all I'll do is make a recommendation, then I have this sent to BPU, and then we'll bring it back to, well, they won't meet, so it'll probably be the first part of January. Is that okay with you?
When do they meet again, Gary?
Well, I just met this week, so it's gonna be at the end of the month.
And you have a right to go to that meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, BPU's meetings are public.
Yeah.
And are they the fourth Tuesday?
Yeah.
It
something like that.
sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
right at the end of the month.
But we can, you
With
can be
Christmas, though,
notified of
with
that.
Christmas, and
Right.
I have to just look to see
Yeah.
what day it fall,
I'm
but it
not
should be the
sure.
fourth Tuesday of the month.
Yeah.
Well, Trent didn't seem to think it would be a problem.
Yeah,
I
and that's
don't
why I
think
said
it will be.
it's their budget that's gonna come out of it. You know, we approve the budget, but we don't tell them what to do. We can ask them.
And they might just do it based on a letter. The trees aren't real huge. At least they didn't look real huge to me when I drove by today.
I didn't.
They don't look really big to her.
Yeah, they are.
Are they
They don't
pretty?
have trees on the one, it seems like the branches hanging over the
Yeah.
house and the garage look pretty big from where I'm standing.
Okay.
Jeff, when's the next council meeting in January?
It's going to be, what is that, about January 4th or 5th?
January 5th.
Fifth?
We'll bring it back to the Brainerd Public, or to this commission from Brainerd Public Utilities, their recommendation at this meeting on January 5th. And then, go ahead, Jeff.
If they agree to do it, then does it need to come back here?
No,
No.
if they do it, then, but
If they
action
don't.
from the committee will be to the council to send them a letter and ask them to please review.
But I
and
would
do
like Jeff to
necessary.
know what they said.
Right.
Sure.
You know,
Okay.
one way or the other. So, I mean, either way, we would like to know what the response is, so.
Great.
Thank you.
I
Go
think
ahead.
the fourth Tuesday, you said they meet?
Yep, at
Yeah.
9 o'clock.
You would, okay, that's still in
AM?
December, okay.
Yeah.
I was
Fourth
thinking
Tuesday.
your meeting would be before theirs.
We do have another meeting, but
But we, yeah.
Gary is saying that we don't know if they'll respond right away. But my gut feeling is they'll just go
Okay.
and do it.
Well, thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
wondering if it has to go to their board.
Well, it depends on what they,
Yeah, depends on
I
how
don't want to take their
significant
options
they
away.
think it is.
I'm on their committee. I don't take their options away. They run their, you know, they might want to ask the board, they might want to.
That's right, that's true. All right, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay warm.
So the motion is just for you to send to BPU,
And
Okay.
ask them to
ask them
take appropriate action.
to look at.
I think so.
Yeah, we're not. Item number 1, sanitary sewer collection system fee structure. Go ahead,
Okay,
Jeff.
at our last couple of meetings, let's see, we had our special meeting, and then the meeting before that, we talked a little bit about the sanitary sewer rates and the fee structure. At the last meeting, what I think we heard from the committee was a consensus to move forward with increasing the sewer rate by 25 cents per 1,000 gallons effective January 1st of 2015. Then another 25 cents per 1,000 gallons effective January 1st of 2016. Then in 2016, kind of review where we're at with revenues, expenses, projections, and all that type of thing. And I guess at that point, make a decision whether or not we need to do further increases or if we're good at that point. I guess if the council concurs with that, then staff would request that the council adopt the attached resolution. Typically, we've set the sanitary sewer collection system charges by resolution in the past. So staff would recommend adoption of the attached resolution.
Yeah, and I think we kind of beat this one to death already, so I think we're all in agreement with this, and,
I'd move that way.
okay. In favor?
Aye.
Great job on that one. Now we're gonna have some discussion. Item number 2.
Okay, as we've talked at some of our meetings, we also have an issue with our stormwater utility fees. I put together a memo kind of talking about some of the history on it. We established the stormwater utility back in 2002. A lot of it because we had a backlog of storm sewer projects that we needed to deal with. Some of those projects, we still have some localized flooding during major rain events, but in years past, we had a major problem over at Southwest 4th, kind of in that hole just north of the railroad tracks. Quite a few problems in North Brainerd. We've had other isolated problems, South Brainerd on Birch Ridge Drive, a few others that, kind of as we started collecting this fee, we had this backlog of projects that we funded, and so we ended up doing revenue bonds to fund a lot of those. The revenue bonds, this past year, that's taken about 1/2 of our annual revenues. Initially, when we set this up, we thought that we would have revenues around the $250,000 to $300,000 a year. We're only getting about $200,000. The revenue bonds, or the debt service on the bonds, is taking about 92 of that. Our general maintenance is taking about 70, 75. Even though we budget more, the actual maintenance and repair costs are running more, about 75. So right now that leaves us somewhere between 10 and 30,000 a year that we've got available for capital projects. This year we had a number of projects where we had quite a bit of storm sewer, about 220 some thousand in storm sewer work, so that's why we're running a negative balance currently. We took a look at the 5-year plan, road construction plan, and throughout that 5-year plan, it looks like we would have storm sewer costs of approaching $500,000, probably about $470,000. And that's just in construction costs, along with our street reconstruction. Does not include any unprogrammed costs that we might have for either, if there's opportunities to deal with our stormwater quality, or if there's additional regulatory requirements that we have to address, or opportunities to deal with stormwater quality issues so that we can get a jump start on our TMDL requirements when they come up in a few years. But at least, we know that there's going to be a funding need going forward for those types of projects. To try to address that, we kind of thought it would be, just to try to make sure that we can fund the program costs, that additional funding of about $100,000 per year would at least get us through covering that $470,000 over the 5 years, and might give us a little bit extra to do some of the other, or implement some of the other projects, whether it's maybe some additional ponds or other water quality type projects. It would be things too, like the project that was funded at the last meeting, $15,000 for that culvert removal. Projects like that where we're dealing with water quality, but they're we're able to leverage some other grant money somewhere to help fund some of those projects. So to raise that $100,000, we kind of took a look at our existing rate structure, and right now we have a base rate on residential properties of $3 per month, and and typically residential properties are about 1/3 impervious surface, or that's sort of an average. When we took a look at it, we kind of looked at the commercial and business, or the commercial rate structure also. And most commercial properties are completely impervious. So we can have, a 1/3 acre commercial property, or even less than a 1/3, a 1/6 of an acre, even like a typical, in the memo I referenced a standard 7,000 square foot parcel. But a 7,000 square foot parcel that's completely impervious is contributing about 3 times the runoff that we get from an average residential property. But both rates are currently the $3 per month. So in some sense, the commercial properties are not paying a proportional share or an equitable share based on the percentage of flow that they're contributing to the system.
A good example would be like Dunkin' Donuts, where it's completely black.
Right.
Yep. And that's what you're talking about versus a residential house that just has
There's green space. And
yeah, with the green space. Okay.
Because when a property is completely impervious, it's all paved, nothing soaks in, all the stormwater just runs off. So that's what affects the quantity of storm water that we have to design for.
Does it also affect the sizing of the pipe as you come in?
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, you would have...
Yeah,
extra-
that definitely affects pipe sizes.
Okay, thank you.
So when staff started looking at this, we kind of thought, for maybe the first thing that we should take a look at, instead of just a blanket increase in the rate, would be to look at something where we maybe get the commercial properties more on a rate structure where they're paying a proportional share, and something that's more based on the parcel size and the amount of impervious surface that they have, and so that they're actually paying more based on the amount of stormwater runoff that they're contributing to the system. And in doing that, we kind of took a look at what Baxter's currently doing and the rates that they charge. And they're somewhat similar. They're a little bit less on their residential, but they're quite a bit higher on their commercial. And and kind of what we right now within our ordinance, our commercial rate, if say we have a 1 acre parcel that's completely impervious, they're paying $9 per acre per month. So this would be a parcel that's 3 times the size of an average residential, but it's completely impervious. So in reality, they're not contributing 3 times the amount of water. They're really contributing 9 times the amount of water. So the commercial rate is off by a factor of 3 essentially. And I think when we've looked at it, we thought, well, let's shoot for a per acre rate of about $27 per acre. That would compare to what I think we got a comparison with Baxter in here, and they're at about 28 or 29. We would still recommend that we provide some sort of reduction for on-site retention. That's also part of our MS4 permit. That's a permit. That's a part of our permit that encourages property owners to reduce their stormwater fees by doing on-site retention and developing best management practices on their site. So we definitely would want to continue to encourage that. But by raising the commercial rate to about that $27 per acre, that's essentially, according to our numbers, that would be generating about that extra $100,000 per year that we think we would need to be able to fund this, projected stormwater improvements over the next 5 years. So that's kind of our initial shot at it from a staff perspective. Tonight, I think we just wanted to start having some dialogue about this and see if the committee's kind of comfortable with the direction that we're going, or if there's some other direction that we should be exploring to kind of restructure how we're generating revenue for the stormwater systems.
Now, this list is not considered to be by any means complete. You've got a list of businesses, but there's many more besides that.
That's not complete.
No, I'm not on
I
it.
think what we wanted to do here was show a range.
Well, I have a business in town, so it's just,
Right.
they just picked some of the businesses in town.
exactly.
for
And we
different-
just wanted to show a range from large parcels to small parcels with different amounts of impervious surface. And again, I think we would want to focus more on just the impervious area, not total areas.
Well, I agree. I don't think most residential, they don't have any impervious, most of them, do they?
Not to speak
A
of.
driveway,
The
that's about
driveways
it.
and patios.
Well, yeah, rooftop, rooftop and driveways. Yeah, garage. In the, for instance, in the shoreline management areas, which are anywhere within 1,000 feet of Rice Lake or 300 feet of the river, the shoreline management regs do have a maximum lot coverage of 25%, so impervious surface. So we do regulate impervious surface in portions of the city. And so I think even that third of the parcel size being impervious is kind of a stretch.
On the residential side, and I do want to someday start addressing, I'm glad you have, your leaf cleanup in the fall to keep it from going into the storm sewers is a tremendous expense for us. So there is And I don't think you're coming out, when you think of your costs of trying to keep the leaves out of the curb and gutters and off the streets, going down the storm sewers, which you have to try to maintain so it don't get into the river. That's
Along
a
with the
huge.
cats.
Yeah, and I would like, but I would like to see that coming back to us, the cost of maintaining those storm sewers in the residential area. Because, that is expensive for either $185,000 new sweeper that you had to buy and the expense of trying to
Well,
keep
that was because of the roundabout.
Well, no,
Certainly
but.
a large part was the
150,000,
roundabout when we bought that
150,000
new
or
sweeper.
whatever. No, it's not all
Yes,
that,
it
but-
was.
But anyway,
Jeff.
no, you can ask Jeff.
It was an
said
old
it.
sweeper.
He
It needed
said
to be replaced, but we went with the left side gutter broom because of the, that was a
Right.
little added expense on the sweeper.
So, but anyway, how does everybody feel about this?
Number one, this is where I am so proud of city staff, that they see a problem and bring us solutions that make sense rather than us trying to solve everything. I think I'm really proud of the work that you guys do. From my perspective, a bit of naivete here, but it seems like it makes sense to me.
And
That, residents shouldn't pay for it.
the direction that this council has kind of went was trying to find revenues to cover expenses, to eliminate the city debt. And that is the direction you're kind of going. And, and I appreciate that tremendously because, like you just said, we were in a hole at the rate we were going and our debt just increases. So if we can find ways to eliminate that without just constantly raising the levy.
Yep.
So this way, it kind of
Well,
goes to the people that
That
are
and we
using
end up
it.
bonding for
Yeah.
the improvements along with our street projects, and then, and we don't really have the cash flow coming out of the existing rate structure to cover the debt service on those, so then it becomes a general, levy problem.
Yeah, and I don't see anybody, if we're matching Baxter coming in here, blowing a horn. I mean, we're just meeting in other cities
Yep.
that done a lot of homework on it. And you've saved us a lot of homework by just following Baxter, so.
And then the incentive to commercial would be to try to have on-site retention and
Right.
that kind of thing. So that would also be a plus.
Absolutely.
I think that would
Yep.
definitely be a plus.
So is this measured just by acreage of property they own, or is this measured by acreage of blacktop?
It's,
Because I think it's just right now, it's just what they own.
right now, it's area, but we estimated, we took the total area and we estimated 75% impervious.
Okay,
So, because actually, we were thinking a rate
yeah,
that,
so that won't make a difference.
so that we'd have an effective rate of about that 27.
And that would include like industrial park, for example.
Right.
Once you get down to it, it would be any commercial,
Right,
right?
yes.
Okay.
So out of committee, the motion would be to approve, and then you would come back with another thing that would put it all together for the
Okay.
resolution?
At this-
Approving the concept, I suppose, Gary?
We are going to have to amend our ordinance.
Yeah.
Because the current ordinance kind of structures how we set that up. So I think what we would want to do for the next meeting is to bring back probably some draft language to
Okay.
repeal our existing ordinance and restructure how we're doing that.
So we'll approve the concept now?
Okay, if we can
Right.
get that direction, that'd be
And then
perfect.
the final product will come back so we can review it again.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Yep. Item number 4, because we got a few more minutes left, and this would be in regards to a letter that was sent by Stephen Wolf on October 10th, that was in the paper last week, violation of Minnesota statute.
I didn't make a bunch of copies of this. I'd like to share. I don't know if anyone had seen this.
Okay, no, I haven't.
Okay.
But you
This
sent it
is-
to everyone. I never saw it before.
I thought we had it in our box.
Yes, I think everyone got
I
it.
think we did.
How do you read this?
I don't know.
Well,
If you
this
know, you
is
tell me.
back after the event at the fire station. We I received a note from Mr. Wolf and asking about our ordinance, so I responded to him. and that's a copy of, on the cover, that's a copy of the response. A few days later, we received, or rather Patrick received this letter that's got some strange graphics on it, and it's fairly simple, you know, in Microsoft Word to just highlight it and change the font to Arial. So kind of you know, after the hieroglyphics, we have the English version.
Did you print the English version?
Yeah, that's attached.
Oh, okay, so the English version wasn't sent to you?
No, it's right
No,
here.
yeah, we had to
Yes, I
convert
think
it
we-
first.
No, he said this was never sent to us. Jeff wrote that.
We had to decipher it, convert it, and then in order to understand what the message was. So I think to some extent, when I looked at that, I thought, first off, this doesn't appear to be a very serious letter in terms of expressing a concern. But we did take a look at it, and quite honestly, I think what it comes down to is he's concerned about a lack of enforcement for people parking on the bridge during events. Apparently, this happened once during the 4th of July event a number of years ago, and then was concerned about it with the fire department's event, and is requesting signage and a variety of other things. Quite honestly, you know, I don't view parking on the bridge deck as being an issue or a problem. It certainly is not a structural problem. You know,
I live right a block from there, and I rarely see it. Now, I tried to think of the occasions, and yes, when the fire department has their open house, and that's usually 4 till 7 or something like that, and they have just huge crowds. People come with their children, and I know on 2nd Street where we live, it's always parked, car, you know, bumper to bumper, and any place they can park, which there isn't a tremendous amount of public parking right down there. But people park, and yes, I have seen cars parked on the bridge then, but it's a very short time. People come with their children and enjoy the fire department and what's there to enjoy, and they leave. I doubt it's more than 2 hours anywhere. The other occasion is that I have seen it is when the fire department sponsors, and I'm not sure what it's called, but it's that rubber ducky thing.
Oh, sure.
When people throw
that's
the little ducks
actually the
into
JCs.
Is that the JCs?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, and I have seen cars parked on the bridge for that. And once again, it's a short time. Now, there may be a few other times when you see one here or there, but to say it's regular or standard, it is not. Now, you live near there also. And if it were regular or standard, I think we should take action, because it certainly could be a hazard, but it's not. And I don't know, I just never saw it as that big an issue, personally.
Chip, you want to jump in?
Ditto.
Okay, and Jeff, you said it's not been an issue?
No, from staff's perspective, we don't think it's been an issue at all. So
And
that's,
basically, I promised, to put it on the agenda for
We were
discussion. We all heard it, and we'll just move on and bring it to the council for discussion and see if there's any issues with it. At this moment.